Hey guys, so I got some questions on what I'm using for my beats. And I've tried some of the different apps. I've tried Digisticks and I've tried some of the AUV3s, and they never quite did everything I wanted. And so let me walk you through that process, but also talk about the why. Really, what I wanted was something simple. I didn't need a ton of fills. I'll show you how I did that. I'll do that later on. But what I really wanted was that feeling, that vibe, that authentic drum sound from 90s hip hop. I wanted that boom bap. I wanted that funky early 90s sound, that raw sound. So when you look into it, it's really just sampled beats from 60s and 70s funk most of the time. And they got really creative with how they did it as well. But that's a whole nother thing. And you can watch tons. You can go down a rabbit hole in that one. I've been there. But I wanted to do it in a modern approach and using what I had. So I wanted a combination of sampling and building these beats inside Logic Pro. So I'm going to show you my process. The first thing I do is I get the song. You can go a whole bunch of different ways with this. I prefer, if I can, I will buy the song on Bandcamp or other sites. If I find something where I can buy it, I will. I will always support the artist. But I also tend to use archive.org, Internet Archive, a lot. You can see here I have a Tribe Called Quest. The Can I Kick It, which is what I'm going to be doing today. So you can also download these completely free, and a lot of times they're even public domain. Now I'm only going to use about 2 bars of this, and I'm going to use it for more inspiration in building, but you'll see how that goes. So you can do Bandcamp, but the other thing I highly suggest, if you're like me and that are really into the idea of sampling and want to learn more about it, check out this site, whosampled.com. It's going to give you, when you type in a song, it's going to tell you where they sampled. Now, everybody knows they sampled Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side for this. What you may not have known is they sampled Spinning Wheel by Lonnie Smith for the drums. If you listen, not that. But right before that, you even had that little drum fill that they do at the very end of the song. Really awesome. So if you want to, and I've done this too, if you want to, you can actually sample the original here from Lonnie Smith and bring that in, which is kind of their process. But what I love doing about the way they have it is because they sampled from vinyl records most of the time, so it gives that vinyl crackle, and I really like that, where some of this might be digitized now or just through tape. So I tend to sample directly from the song itself. So now let's bring that song into Logic Pro. And here I have Logic Pro, and I'm just going to play the sample that I chose.
Rock and roll to the beat of the funk fuzz. Wipe your feet really good on the rhythm rug. If you feel the urge to rock and roll to...
Okay, I only need that little bit. I can extend that out a little bit if I want. All I want is, I'm looking for a part that doesn't have a lot going on. I wanted a part that was just vocals and drums. It's really easy for artificial intelligence to separate those two. Where it gets more difficult is when you have a lot of percussion going on, or some background singers, or some keyboard sounds. Things that share the same frequency spectrum as drums may make it more difficult for that tool to actually work. So what I'll do is I will just use Logic's Stem Splitter in Logic 11. You have it built right in. I'm going to right click and click on Stem Splitter, and I'm just going to split it just for the drums. Amazing how quick it does it. Now when I play this back, I get a pretty clear picture. The other thing that I'll do, if I don't know it already, I'll use Logic Pro's BPM counter, and I'll just play the beat. Okay, 96.6 is the BPM for this song. I have it set at 96. You could do 97. It's not going to really matter because we're going to quantize this, and that's the next step. So what I'm going to do, before I do that, I have to find the one. I'm looking for that transient, and you can kind of already get an idea. I think it's going to be right here, because I think that's going to be the one, but let's listen. Yep, right there. So I'm going to split it right at that spot, Command-T, delete this, and now I'm going to bring this, and since I only want 2 measures of this, I'm going to cut this off as well. And now I'm just going to play this back. Without doing anything else, I'm just going to play it back, and let's see how decent it sounds. Okay, you get a little bit of a skip. That's where the quantizing is going to come in. All right, so now I'm going to make this big, bring this back, and I can also see that here is my snare drum hit, and you can see that that's off. So I'm going to bring that back a little bit. That will definitely help. Okay, we're still off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this flex time. Okay, and I'm going to quantize this. I usually use swing E. Boom bap beats are naturally have a nice swing, a nice bounce to them. That's what makes them funky. So I'm going to do swing E. And now I can line up the transients. Let me listen again. Okay. So now that I have this in, and I can quantize, what I like to really quantize is my snare drums. So if I go into E and I can really see what this is. Okay, so that doesn't really need much. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my samples. So to do that, I'm just going to right click here and create a MIDI region. And I'm going to start without very much swing to it. So I'm going to go down here and just put in my kick drums. And my snare on the 2 and the 4. Okay, and I'm going to turn down my actual sample now. Pretty low. I'm going to turn that velocity up. I have a couple different snares here. I'll use that one. Perfect. So now I'm going to add in that bounce. So this is where the swing comes in. And you don't want it's really in the kick drum, at least for this song. So when I go in here, you could do a straight sound, and that would just be going ahead. Now listen to this. I'm going to mute the... Very robotic, but watch what happens when I take these 3. Actually, it's going to be 4 because I'm going to bring that as well. You take these and you nudge them to the right until you get 81. Now listen to it. Yeah. That's it. That's it right there. That's that bounce. Now sometimes I'll replace that right there with something like a quick little roll. And I have this soft snare, so I'll just duplicate that. I'll go on it, 81, 161. Yeah, and maybe I'll move that down a little bit. Now let's listen to it with the sample. Okay. So we're getting somewhere now. That sample is still there. I can turn it down a little bit more. I really want to lead with my samples. So again. And you can see here that this one, oh, that's because of that. So if I go over here, I forgot that I put the snare roll. You can see that we're at 81 here, right? That's the swing of this song. I don't know what that means in music terms, just to be clear. Someone will know, right? So what I want to do is I want to cut this last part off. That's what's causing that weird sound. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to use my fade tool. And I'm just going to fade it down a little bit. And I'm actually going to do that in the beginning here because it pops a little bit. Got rid of it there. There we go. Okay. You're still hearing some of that echo, those artifacts in there, but I like it. You can get rid of it by just muting these or turning them down more. personally, I like the artifacts. That's how it was. If you listen to Can I Kick It, you can actually hear the artifact of the acoustic guitar that they couldn't get rid of in the background, which is really cool. So now I'm going to go through and add some hi-hats. And I'm going to start real simply by just putting in on the ones. Well, quarter notes here. Just 4. Okay. Okay. And you'll hear that it actually accents on the 8th note. So sometimes I'll use a harder hi-hat for that. Sometimes I'll use a shaker, which is all the way up here for easy. And I can just accent that 8th notes, which sometimes I do both. I'm liking both right now. All right. But I also like including an open hi-hat. And usually at the end, I'll take this one and I'll throw that open. Cool. So now I have this sound. I'm starting to build it, and this is where I start getting into a little bit of the flavor. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll use a gated vinyl sample. I have some vinyl crackle samples that I'll use. They sound really awesome, and I'll gate it so it only happens with that snare and kick drum. That's really awesome subtly. In a song that's coming out soon, you'll hear that in the sample, but other times, I'll just use something like Decapitator. Now, Decapitator is your saturation plugin. You can use BB tubes, anything you have. It just adds some warmth and some punch. So I'm going to put this above this one right now. I'll explain what that other one is in a moment. So I'll use the drum like the fattener here. Without it. With it. Maybe a little too much. But it gives it that pop. And what I also, the final thing that I absolutely have to do is put a limiter on this. The reason I use a limiter, it's simple. I'm bringing this into loopy. I want to make sure that every sample I bring into loopy is about the same volume. And to do that, I set my output at -4 dBs, and I set my ceiling. I just watch it. I mean, it's a 2-bar measure. I make sure I'm getting about 2 decibels of gain reduction. So when I play this back, you can see -1.9, -1.9. We're right on target. That way I know that it's not pulling down those, and that's pretty much the snare drum that you're kicking there. Which, oh, look at that. I have Decapitator on there too. Sometimes I'll throw this room reverb on there. Don't go crazy. I just want it to thicken. So without it, with it, yeah. All right, so there, I've got this boom bap beat. It's leveled. It's got some, I don't know, some spice to it, some flavor to it. It's got that grit that I want in that boom bap beat to really cut through everything. And it's leveled in a way that I know when I bring it in there, it's going to be pretty much on point with everything else I've done. Other times I'll add in tambourine sounds. There's some really nice, if I go into Easy Drummer here, into my grooves, there's shakers. I'll type in TAMB. Let me get rid of that shaker. This one's great. Without it, with it. So if I'm doing like a Beck tune or something like that, where I know he always had a ton of percussion going on, I'll throw in that tambourine or a shaker in there, really thicken it up. Or maybe I just want it to come in during that chorus to thicken things up, to add some other things in there to get the audience guessing. But again, I like using this. This gives me control of exactly my sounds when I go out. It also allows me to keep my sounds similar and provides me with a way of being a little bit creative in the pre-production state, because I love producing, I love doing this kind of stuff. So it kind of melds the two, the live show and this. So I hope this video helped. If you have questions, leave the comments below. I'll try and answer all of them I can, and maybe it'll spark some more of these tutorials coming up where I can go a little bit more in depth. Thanks, guys. Can I kick it? Yes, he can. Can I kick it?